I'm not going to say a single word about the Tennessee Titans record against the Indianapolis Colts because I was a punter, and there's no reason for me to talk about that. With that being said, we did not punt much against the Tennessee Titans, so you probably have no clue who I am to begin.
Look, I'm unstoppable. Forget your defense, nothing but an obstacle. Run it back, switch it up, call it audible. Serving up them Hail Marys till the game over with the showstopper. So hot, you gotta blow on it. I said I'll huff and I'll puff and I'll pass to my left while I'm looking to my right. Hit them right in the chest. It be looking like magic. Better give me the throne. I ain't talking about Patrick, but I rep my home. I'm never at the end of my zone. I'm bad to the bone. Eating up these pig skins like they chicharrones, and you a douche cabron. Mira, mira at the mirror on the wall. I'm the greatest of them all. They gon' put me in the hall. Your name is only written in a bathroom stall. Quit your stalling and make a play. My drive too long. Pop the clutch, I don't pump the brakes. I know what it takes to gain the muscle, get rugged. These butterfingers be fumbling. Squash the scrimmage and rub it in Robitussin. How I give them concussion. They seeing double, they rushing and pass the shovel, the dirt and rubble. I bury them under it. Stay in your huddle and get 10 yards back. Never turn your back. I'ma pull your flag. I go full contact. Out punch, out kick like a shotgun.
Yeah, we are back. We are back again. Welcome back to the HorseShoe Mob Podcast. I know Josh is getting some stuff set, but you know what? I know that y'all were kind of fooled for a second because, it's normally the four of us, but we have a very special guest. And I want to make sure that we highlight that because, we always talk on Twitter, always going back and forth, but it's good to be here because we've had these discussions and, he's fresh off the combine, so we're going to get to it. But before we do, just want to go ahead and welcome you guys back to the HorseShoe Mob Podcast. We're talking about everything Colts, and we slander the Titans too because, it's just like they're the Titans. They love mayonnaise, and, we swept them. So, at the end of the day, they're 0 for 2 on that. But like I said, we're not going to mess you because of your condiment choices. We just mess with you because of condiment choices that you put in your coffee. So, yeah. So with that being said, welcome to the HorseShoe Mob Podcast where we're bringing you everything Colts. I'm your host for this evening, Chris Jackson. We also have with us Harish Nukala.
What's good, guys? How's it going?
Yes, we have with us the silent assassin, Austin Cook.
What's up? I'm Austin.
And we're gonna I love it, Austin. I love the solo enthusiasm. I appreciate you so much, man. And then also, like I said, Josh is gonna be hopping back in, but I'd be remiss if we didn't just go ahead and just introduce him. We're going to go ahead and get to the formal introductions. Just want to make sure that we do remind you, make sure you go into www.fanbattlesports.com for everything AFC South related. You'll be able to read articles. You'll be able to see this episode on there as well as previous episodes also. And yeah, that's where you'll be able to see us on there. Josh just got in with us. Josh, say hello to the people.
What's good, everybody? Special guest Josh Senior.
I hate it here. I really do. I really do. What I do to deserve this. But listen. We've introduced our guys. You're familiar with us, but we definitely want to go ahead and take the time out to introduce the host of Drop Balls Pod, one of the hosts of the Sports After Dark podcast. Make sure that you're tuning in. I think when you guys go live, like I think every other night or every night.
We've been off for the past few weeks or past couple of weeks, but we're gonna be back. I think tomorrow. Usually is on Mondays, but I think we'll be back tomorrow. Yeah.
All right, cool. Well, we make sure we do that. Also, you can catch him with the Horseshoe Pride. But yeah, we have with us, and I'm just gonna say CLew because I go by CJ with you. I think we all just go by some type of C if we have a name that begins with C. But we have with the CLew everybody.
What's good, y'all? Thank y'all for having me on, man. Thank y'all for inviting me on and everything.
No, appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, we appreciate you. We appreciate you coming on. We know that we have a lot of things to talk about. You just came from the combine, and so we're definitely going to pick your brain about that. We're also going to let you and Harish have a debate about Chris Ballard. So we're just so I'm just going to tell you right now, Austin, Josh, and myself are just going to mute ourselves and just let y'all just do what y'all do towards the end. So we're going to let y'all handle y'all business. So we definitely appreciate that. But yeah, so we've had, like I said, today was the first day or the deadline to be able to franchise guys. If they weren't franchised or signed today, then that means that they were going to be going into free agency if it's last year of the deal. So everybody was hoping for that Michael Pittman Jr. franchise tag. But they were hoping for that deal, but we got the franchise tag instead. So, was this something that we expected, or what exactly what happened like leading up to this that makes you think that they were just like, we're just gonna have to give this guy just the league average for wide receivers right now?
So
silent.
Oh,
Go for it. You're good.
For me, like I kind of figured this was gonna come. Like this was gonna happen. He gets franchise tag, and then he'll get a contract before the July 15th deadline. But I think part of me feels like they were real close on the contract. Like they were real close on the extension. And it just came down to probably maybe some guarantees, maybe some language in the contract or something that maybe they had a disagreement on. Mm-hmm. And that's what led to him being franchised. Because I mean, they did it at 12 o'clock Pacific time, so about 3 o'clock Eastern. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think it just came down to the last minute, and it's probably a couple things they couldn't agree on, but just give them some more time to negotiate. But I figured this was going to happen for sure. Gotcha. And so, and like I said, I'll open the floor to everybody. So I'm say it's just like, is this just basically just kind of like a stepping stone to getting a deal done, or do you really feel like they kind of like stonewalled when it came to how they would be able to negotiate? Also, Blue Nation, what's going on? Welcome. But do we feel like this is just going to be we're going to get something done eventually, but we just couldn't get anything done right away?
Yeah, it's a security blanket, right? It's the opportunity to kind of keep it close to them. And of course, it's a non-exclusive tag, so that still means that Michael Pittman can go out and he can talk to whoever wants to talk to him if they will. If they end up getting a deal done and the Colts don't match, it's 2 first-round picks. Now you can look at that 2 ways. You can look at that as, wow, that's a really no teams. Which again, this is not very likely because it's never happened before. So I understand this. Please don't jump on me all at once because I know that's a popular thing to do around here in these streets, the Twitter streets anyway. The Twitter
that's inflammatory. Oh, okay, I was about to say.
Jeez. All right, Chris, calm down now.
About to say, it's just like you just trying to slander me in front of company, huh? It's like
I can't even get to the argument about Chris Ballard because I can't even finish the first argument I was going to make. Anyway, all kidding aside, it's just the opportunity for other teams, I guess, to set the market. But me being the Chris Ballard guy that I am, the way I think about this is just Chris Ballard's opportunity to let Michael Pittman Jr. go out there and see who's out there. Worst case scenario, because we know how much Chris Ballard loves his picks. If somebody doesn't meet his number, right, or somebody exceeds his number because he loves a number, he values at a number. So somebody's $1 million over what some hypothetical team that, again, not likely, but if it happens, we have to look at all the scenarios. Mm-hmm. Chris Ballard is going to take his 2 first-round picks, and we're going to start over like we have for the last 9 years. That's basically what happens in Chris Ballard's world. So, yes, I understand it is not very likely that this happens, but me being the anti-Chris Ballard that I am, it's the fact that he's willing to take the risk that concerns me from this is just how Chris Ballard is perspective. If that makes sense, that is my argument. I understand that it's very unlikely to happen, but 0.01% chance is still a chance to me. Well, and he is the type of person to take that type of chance.
Well, so let's also be real about this. The market was reset 2 years ago when Devontae got his deal, Tyreek got his deal. there's not going to be a market reset until next year when you see guys like Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase. So the thing is, this is probably the safest thing to do right now, because there's not going to be a wide receiver that's going to go out and get 30 million this year like you're going to see next year when it comes. Mind you, CeeDee Lamb, Jamar Chase, and Justin Jefferson are all coming due at the same time. So
Correct.
they are going to be the ones who are going to be setting the wide receiver market for each other. Now,
Yep.
the thing is, do I think that Michael Pittman Jr. is going to be a guy who's going to be in the 30 millions? Absolutely not. I mean, right now, the franchise tag for wide receivers is about 21.818 million.
Correct.
Or 21.81, 21.81 million. So it's not going to be, we're not going to see that type of drastic movement, but this also gives him the opportunity to go ahead and work through guarantees, work through those little things, because I mean, I think he'll probably end up maybe getting a little bit more than the 21.8, probably maybe somewhere around like 22, 23. I know. See, you ended up saying like he was going to be around what, like 23, 24, I think.
Yeah, I said, somewhere like 4 years, 95 million would put him at like 23 point something.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's where he's going to be at. And maybe 24. The highest I think they go is probably 25. I don't think they go over 25 because I don't think he's worth what Mike Evans got. Like I think Michael Pittman is good. Don't get me wrong, but Mike Evans has been like the epitome of consistency since he got in the league.
Absolutely.
And I don't think Pittman's worth 26 million. Well, I'm not going to say he's not worth it, but I don't think he's getting 26 million at this point.
Yeah.
I like that number you put out there, though. I think I saw you had a post up earlier that said something around 25 annually. I think that makes a lot of sense with a lot of incentives built in. I think that deal makes a lot of sense, and I think that would be a deal I'd be very happy with. And maybe it's probably those little things out there that are just like, incentive here, guarantee there. I think it is very close though, because if that wasn't the case, then they wouldn't have tried to push the drama back as best as they could, which is what Chris Ballard tends to do.
And I mean, it could also be like the guaranteed money up front, the signing bonus. Like could be the thing too, where they have a difference of opinion on, where he may want 35, the team is probably like 30. Like, it could be something as small as that.
Sure.
Yeah. So and I think, like I said, I think we're kind of like all on the same page. Like we wanted Michael Pittman Jr. back. Like I think everybody did, because I mean, not just this season, but I mean, he has been the model for consistency. I mean, when this was a man who was, forced to just run a bunch of 5-yard slants, with Matt Ryan, and he ended up having 99 receptions for under 1,000 yards. I think we know the type of person that we're going to be getting from Michael Pittman Jr., and it's going to be a matter of paying him. Like, this is going to be a unique thing because we haven't really had to pay a wide receiver since Ty. So, I mean, this is where we're at now. But you know what? I don't want to be rude, because I was rude. I apologize. I didn't let the people get to know who you were. CLew. So you know what? Before we go any further, let the people know, because I apologize. That's my gaffe. I was rude in front of company. So CLew, tell the people a little bit about yourself, what you do. I know we introduced the pods and everything, but give the people a little bit of your background.
Yeah, so I mean, me, I'm a former college athlete. I played football damn near my whole life, all the way through college and everything. And kind of just, I mean, I work a 9 to 5 just like everybody else, but kind of just wanted to stay in sports. So, I started my own podcast, Drop Balls Podcast, did that over COVID. And I need to get back to it. Like I need to get back dropping some episodes. But life is busy, man. Life is busy.
Yeah.
Like you said, Sports at the Dark, co-host of Sports at the Dark podcast. We do our Twitter spaces. We also do our YouTube shows, our live YouTube shows. You can catch us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all of those. And then I have a podcast with Meg and Boom and Chip and my guy Kev and Jay, called Horseshoe Pride. We're about to get back into that. I believe we might be recording Friday. So go ahead and follow that on YouTube as well.
And that's also on Relevant app, right?
I don't know if it's on Relevant app. I don't think so.
Okay.
But just make sure y'all tap into that. That's on YouTube as well. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much me, man. Like it's sports all the time. I'm work my 9 to 5, sports all the time, and then got my son with me. We went to the combine, had some fun there.
Yes.
Took my little man out there to see some things, see what them athletes doing out there. But we might make that an annual thing here forward too.
Yeah, no, that looked like y'all had a dope time because like being able to let everybody run. And by the way, I would be remiss if I didn't say that Indy is just the home of the combine now. Like it's just like
for sure.
It's never had any real gaffes, anything happen outside of that. I know they're experimenting with like the draft in different places. I went to the draft last year when it was here in Kansas City. So, like I said, I know that they've experimented with that, but Indy is the home of the combine. So we definitely got to make sure that we highlight that because I mean, no other place puts on the way Indy does when it comes to the combine. I don't think anybody ever will. So let's also just talk because, like I said, we mentioned before that the deadline today, the deadline was 4:00 p.m. Eastern time today to be able to franchise tag players. Otherwise, if a deal didn't get done, then they went to free agency. So I think we all have been talking about who we thought that we would like. Brian Burns was a guy whose name came up numerous times. I think Jalen Johnson from Chicago came up. But who are some of the more surprising guys that we saw that were franchise tag or actually weren't franchise tag for that matter?
Just trying to think of a name. There was a name on the list that I actually am trying to look for right now that I was kind of surprised. It might have I might have been Jalen Johnson just because of the state of the Bears right now, but I guess they're just trying to hold on to everything that they could. Mm-hmm. I figured they would just kind of let him test the free market and just see what's out there. Yeah. Christian Wilkins, and I know Sarah just mentioned that. Christian Wilkins, that's a good one, really surprised me, especially a Dolphins defense that's struggling defensively, especially in stopping the run, allowing a guy like Christian Wilkins who actually was very, very good for them and has actually turned into a really good pro is another guy that surprised me.
Yeah. What about you, Josh?
Man, the guy that won Super Bowl, Chris Jones.
yeah, but I think they couldn't afford that. I mean, and honestly, it's just like you had him and Snead, and I mean, between the two of them, I think it was a little bit of an easier thing for them to kind of tag Snead, but then have to do something regarding because I think he got non-exclusive tag, correct?
Right.
Correct. Yeah.
And then Chris Jones is like, you can't really afford to tag him because if you tag him, that's automatically going to be 20-some million off rip, as opposed to setting up a deal where you pay him a little bit less this year, maybe you pay him a little bit more the next. But that's the Chiefs. That's how they do it, and they are swindling people with money. But that's neither here nor there because I'm in Kansas City. I might get like crucified because of that. But Austin, what about you?
Yeah. So I think a young player like Xavier McKinney hitting that market, I thought that was pretty surprising.
Mm-hmm.
And I would also love to bring him in, but that's just me.
Yeah. What about you, C? Because I know that you've been monitoring it and reposting all day about who's been out there.
Yeah. For me, I mean, I'll go with Austin with Xavier McKinney. But again, I'm with him on that. Like, I would love to have him in Indy. And another guy is who I'm surprised got franchise tag was Kyle Duggar from the Patriots. Yeah. But they gave him the transition tag. So I mean, he can still negotiate. But if he goes with somebody else and they don't match, then they don't get any compensation for it. But yeah, I was just surprised. I was surprised, like, he got tagged, and I'm surprised Xavier McKinney didn't get tagged. I'm surprised they let him test the free market. To be honest.
Yeah. But that team's moving in a different direction anyway. And I mean, if we're talking, and also like you're talking about certain teams like the Dolphins, for example, the Dolphins technically right now are in cap hell because of some of the other moves, like the Teron Armstead deal right now is killing them. Jalen Ramsey, Tyreek Hill's deal. Tyreek Hill's is going to continue to go up, and I think he's going to be upwards of maybe 40 million within like a year, probably next year. So I mean, like a team like that, like they were built to be kind of like a championship or bust team where they went bust, and now you have things to answer for because it wasn't just Wilkins, they released Jerome Baker as well. And Jerome Baker was somebody who I think just recently, maybe like 2 years ago, just got signed.
Yep.
But I mean,
and then they got to sign Tua soon, or
and Waddle.
That whole, and Waddle.
Yeah. They do they still have Mike Gesicki on contract? No, he's gone. He went to the
Patriots. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, they got a couple of guys. I mean, again, they went boomer bust and they busted big time. So they're gonna be down for a little bit. I know we were all hoping on Jalen Johnson, quick fixes. Here's some quick fixes that really hurt. Jalen Johnson, Brian Burns, of course. Antoine Winfield also really killed me, but there's a lot of safeties in the market that I think can help us. And again, we'll talk about this later. We'll see what our love for free agency GM does, because he loves it so much. We'll see what moves he makes this offseason. It's like his favorite part of the offseason, where we all just sit here, twiddle our thumbs as players, come in and go out, and then he just says stuff like, well, you guys, you just got to listen. We really like what we have in our room, so we couldn't go out and sign one guy to help our two-day safeties. We should really like what we have. So we'll see what happens. Very, very interested, because safety is definitely something we can address. I think we have to address some of these things in free agency this year, while Anthony Richardson's on his rookie contract. And if we don't, then what are we doing? So
and then also let's also be, because I mean we saw some notable things happen today. I think Jerome Baker was a surprise cut. Both Jamal Adams and Quandre Diggs both were cut. So the thing is, these are going to be guys who are in free agency also. Now, Jamal Adams, man coverage, absolute liability. But I can't see him being somebody that you can maybe just kind of play out deep a little bit, maybe. But Diggs is probably the more reliable of the two in terms of coverage, in terms of how he fits in. Because, I mean, he's 5'9", but he plays like he's a 6'3" safety. Like, that's just who he is. So, I mean, it does give us a lot of opportunity when it comes to that. But you know what? We'll talk about free agency when we get there. Let's talk about this combine. And I know that you were there and, you were able to kind of just like see exactly what it was. What was your first impression of the combine from what you were able to see? Like, is this draft going to be what we talked about it being like during the regular season? Like, what did you see that gave you the like any type of impression?
Yeah, so I mean, I think this draft is going to be crazy at the receiver position. Like, this draft at the, I was just being there and looking at all the receivers and everything. This draft has everything you could ask for in a receiver. Like, it has everything at the receiver position. You got slots, you got route runners, you got outside receivers, you got burners. You have everything at the receiver position in this draft. And even when I was at the airport, when I was leaving, coming home, and I was sitting next to the Texan scout and to the Cowboys scout, the Texan scout was even saying, like, this is probably the most talented receiver class he's ever seen. Come out in the draft. Like, this has to be the best receiving class he's seen in the draft. And that says a lot. Like, it says a lot when you think about some of the drafts we've seen at receiver. But yeah, I mean, that's the biggest thing that stood out. I didn't get to see all the offensive line because we left on Sunday, so I didn't get to see everything on the offensive line. But then I like the linebackers too, man. Like, I like the linebackers.
Yeah. And I know it's like we were and here's the thing, because the biggest thing, I think the biggest theme that we saw with this draft was the 40s, like the 40 times and all that. But something that was that was little talked about with a lot of these groups was some of those more fundamental or those positional drills, like the cornerbacks, with them being able to get in and out of the shuttles, being able to do the reaction drills where it's just like they're telling them exactly which directions to go in, how their hip movement is, like the wide receivers, them running through those wide receiver gauntlets. Because, like I said, I think you mentioned, there were a lot of those wide receivers who ran those sub 4.4s, like they were out there burning. But then when it came to those gauntlets, you had guys like Lad McConkey, who was another guy who was like it was a fast guy. Or then you have Roma Dunze, who didn't run the fastest 40, but when he ran the gauntlet, he ran it damn near to perfection. Yeah. So it's just like, so then my question becomes, and this is just kind of open to everybody. In the case of somebody like Roma Dunze, right? By going through that gauntlet and not having the fastest 40 time, does that change perception of what he is, or does that kind of speak to exactly what he's able to do outside of just being a speedster, like some other wide receivers may be looked at as?
Not for me, because I didn't think he was a burn. I mean, he still ran a 4.45, so like it's not like, you know, he's slow. But watching him, he's not. I mean, he's not a burner like an Xavier Worthy. But when you look at his routes and you look at his size, he's 6'3", 210. So for him to be able to run routes like he does, to run like he does, and his hands, like, it don't change nothing. It don't change. I already thought he was wide receiver 2 in this draft, and I still do. Like, it changed nothing for me.
Wide receiver 2 behind who though?
Behind, you know, MHJ, behind Junior.
Ooh. Yeah. So is Neighbors at wide receiver 3 then?
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, Neighbors is 3.
Hey, by the way, shout out to Malik Neighbors. They gave him a quiz just to kind of see exactly where they thought that he might go. And they told him, it's like, based on your answers, you're either going to the Titans or Falcons. And he said verbatim, Titans. Oof. So hey, shout out to Malik Neighbors, man. He knows his pass shoot when he sees it. Appreciate you, my boy. Hey, if there's any way he comes to Indy, I would love it, because you're starting off with a bang. That's fine.
Starting off great already.
Exactly. I know it's just like Titans fans were talking about. Oh yeah, Brock Bowers said he wants to go to Tennessee. You know, that's fantastic. I think I'm more interested in the fact that he said "oof" as soon as they said Titans. The guy, listen. He may be like the 5th wide receiver taken in the draft, but I mean, he's number 1 in my heart, man. Because that was amazing. That was great.
It was great for him to do that, man.
That was awesome.
I read maybe or heard that Brock Bowers only met with the Colts. Any truth, or have y'all heard that?
Nah, I know he met with the Colts. They said everybody was in there with him too. Like, we had 20 people in there with him.
I mean, not surprised. Just want to make sure, because somebody said he met with the Colts and then he went home. I was like,
he didn't go home. He was still there, because when I was there, when I got there, he was still out there. He didn't do any drills, but he was still there.
Yeah, but just real quick on just the pure amount of talent in this draft. Obviously, wide receiver, there's an insane amount of talent. There's a lot of talent at a lot of positions in this draft, you know, and probably the weakest position is probably the running back position. Not very impressed with any of the running backs, to be honest. There's some guys in there that looked okay. The guy from Oregon? Louisville. The guy from Louisville looked really good. That was probably, in my opinion, the best guy out there. But the safety room was insane. I thought there's a lot of really good safeties in this draft. For a guy, and you know, we're looking for a guy, essentially a ball hawk in our scheme. I think there's a lot of those types of guys in this draft that could fit that build. Roma Dunze is a freak of nature. That dude is my draft crush, if you will. I love Roma Dunze. A guy that can move like that, 6'3", 210. Yes, he runs a 4.4, but the way he just ran that gauntlet and oh my God, sign me up.
Well, so and also let's be completely objective here, right? Because I ran track, you know, all my life, all the way through college. For me personally, and while the 40 is absolutely dazzling, I'm gonna be honest with you, it's very overrated. Because the thing is, it's just like, we can talk about speed all day, but I mean, if we look at how many guys are actually able to put the whole speed and actually be good receivers together, like, I think there's only a few guys that we can actually talk about right now in the league that have that super elite type of speed and are absolutely utilizing it that right way. Like, I think for me, it's just like, you have guys like Tyreek Hill just off the top, and then you have Jalen Waddle. But then after that, you have guys like Tyquan Thornton hasn't been able to put it together. Mecole Hardman is a guy who was super fast, but isn't necessarily the best when it comes to receiving. Sure. And I mean, the thing is, you're seeing now where it's just like you have more of those guys that don't necessarily run those high 40s who are like the better receivers. Like when you're looking at the Devontae Adams, when you're looking at the Cooper Kupps, you're looking at that. Like I said, the 40 it's amazing. Like 4.21 is fantastic. You can't coach that type of speed. But at the end of the day, it's just like, to me personally, this is a passing league, but it hasn't necessarily went out. Like at least to me, it's just like, I think the 40 time is good, but I want to see the rest of them. Like Rome Odunze, outside of outside of Marvin Harrison Jr., to me personally, it's just like he probably is the one person that it's just like that I'd take after MHJ, and maybe he's right there with Malik Neighbors in terms of his production and how he was able to actually come out and show what he can possibly do. But that's just my opinion on that.
But see, that's why I like Xavier Worthy though, because even when you watch his film, his route run is crazy. Like the way he transitions his routes, his stop and go speed, his short area quickness, all of that. Like the 4.21 is amazing, right? But like you said, he can put it all together. Shifting his weight, to get in and out of his routes, the burst in and out of his routes, like all of that. Like Xavier Worthy has that. The biggest question mark that everybody has is his hands, really. Like, but
his hands and his size.
Yeah, and his size, like he's like 160. He weighted like 168 or something like that.
Yeah. And what is he, like 6'1"?
Yeah, he's like 6'1".
He was asked to do a lot of different things in Texas, right? And Sark runs a run first offense, right? It's literally, yes, he has all these receivers. He can get guys in space. He's a very, very smart guy when it comes to getting receivers in space. He runs, and he says this all the time, I am a run first offense. His goal is to get 1,000-yard running back every single year. So these receivers are asked to do so many different things besides catch go routes. Like there are a lot of Texas fans asking, well, you had a guy that ran 4.2 and you had a guy that's like 6'4" that ran 4.3. How come y'all didn't just run go routes all the time? Because it's not the offense. It's not what's created. That's not the way Sark runs his offense. So not only are you getting 4.2 speed out of Xavier Worthy, you're actually getting a versatile wide receiver because he was asked to do so many different things in college. Yes, the weight is a concern. The drops are a concern, but if you look at an offense like Shane Steichen and a guy like Xavier Worthy, where we know, and we've said it, and I've said it here before, Shane will get these guys in the right space, in the right spot to be successful. And I think a guy like Xavier Worthy would be really good in this offense. I think a lot of these guys would be really good in this offense. And that's predicated on Shane's ability to put them in the right space to be successful.
That's why it's so hard for me to really figure out which receiver I want, because it's a lot of them out there. And it's one of those things where it's like, damn, we got all of these receivers. I would be cool with all of them.
Yeah.
I'd take two of them. Like, honestly,
I take one early and then I take one in like the 5th round.
The way that this wide receivers class is set up, you're going to be able to get good value whether you get one in the 1st or you get one in the 3rd, because I mean this wide receiver class is deep, and I mean I think there's a few teams. I think Texas put 2 or 3 receivers in. I mean, you have Rome Odunze, and then you also have other guys like
Jalen
I think
Miller and Jalen Polk, all from UW.
Yep, and I think like another name that was coming up, I believe, Malachi Corley.
Yep,
it's just like he was another one that will like everybody's kind of looking at as like that sleeper type pick.
But stay away from Pearsall.
Why?
I mean, even Ricky Pearsall though. Even a guy like Ricky Pearsall, it's all about where you put him and how you use him. I saw in the comments, Keon Coleman is another guy that we all talked about a lot before the combine. He runs a 4.6, and everybody's like, "Oh wow, that guy's slow." This dude's like 6'4", like 220, 225. Like running a 4.6 at that weight is not like that's a really good thing.
What's funny is, like I said, sitting next to those scouts, they all knew he was going to run a 4.6, so nobody cared. None of the scouts cared that he ran a 4.6, and they all knew he was about to run that. That's what he told me, because I asked him like what he thought about, Keon Coleman's joint, and he was like, yeah, we all knew he was going to run a 4.6. We weren't surprised. It didn't hurt him at all.
Yeah.
You guys are forgetting Ashton Doolin, man.
Huh?
Can we stop this, please? Can we listen, I want to just can we just stop this right now? Can we stop this right now?
You have another.
So we're not gonna do this. You're giving me a certain amount of PTSD because of the fact that we are sitting here spreading this Ashton Doolin agenda that we've been talking about ever since Philip freaking Rivers was here. We've been talking about this for years.
I like Ashton, but yeah,
he got it. Yeah, he done, man.
He's a great gunner. We missed him on special teams this year. Yeah, he's still on the roster.
He was just hurt last year. Yeah, he'd be a great teams guy. That's just what he is, and there's nothing wrong with that. I just don't want him as my third, fifth, or sixth wide receiver. That's just
a great deep threat every now and then.
If you get bored, you just throw it up there at 30.
Yeah.
So
another receiver we didn't talk about is Brian Thomas Jr. He could be a good one.
Yep,
I like that one.
Insane. He ran again, just his routes that he runs. With the receivers, the corner route drills and the deep drills, like those drills tell a lot about those guys. Mm-hmm. And you can really tell who really plants their feet fundamentally, like who's really good at planting their feet as they go out of their drops, making sure. I don't know. There's some of these. This wide receivers class is insane.
Yeah. And and that's the reason why I don't want to hear Ashton Doolin again. The thing is, we're going to end up probably getting 2 wide receivers in this draft, and I don't want to hear about Ashton Doolin outside of special teams. Because I'm cool with special teams. I'm completely cool with special teams. However, you're not going to keep on trying to sell me this dream of Ashton Doolin as a wide receiver 3. Because we're not doing this. It's the same way that you guys tried to sell me on on Pascal years ago, talking about all he needs is an opportunity. Yes, he needs an opportunity somewhere else.
Hey, Pascal was a great run blocker. We missed that.
Great run blocker.
Stop it right now. You're not. Here's what we're gonna do. You're not gonna do what they do. You're not gonna do what they do because I am absolute. Matter of fact, listen. Y'all not gonna do this to me. Y'all been doing this for years because all I've heard from all these guys who were just like 5th or 6th, on the depth chart saying, "Oh, but he'll be good. He's gonna do this." I remember when we got Brandon for freaking season. And then it was just like he was just playing over Isaiah Rodgers. And then somebody had the audacity to tell me, no, you just got to get him in the right situation. He was CB5 on the Raiders. How bad do you have to be CB5 on the Raiders?
But this is the thing, Chris. All we're doing is trying to hype up our guys that our GM put together. This is the team that our GM put together. So we have to buy into the hype of what we were fed.
Harish, I will mute you. Don't you ever try to sit there and tell me I'm not doing this. You know what?
Chris Ballard ain't put Brandon on the field. That's all I'm gonna say.
Chris, cornerback is just really hard to play in the NFL. It's a really hard position.
Harish, you're muted for the next 30 seconds. I'm not dealing with this. I'm not dealing with this nonsense tonight. I'm not. Y'all ain't about to stress me out. I just came from coaching my 3rd grade basketball team. You're not about to do this because my blood pressure just came down from trying to teach them half court screens and offense. So we're not doing this. Okay. All right. So then moving on. So combine stock. So who benefited from the combine and who actually didn't show up the way that I'm going to say we all kind of thought that they might. And like I said, it can be any combination of one or the other. But I want to see, because like I said, you were there firsthand, who actually was able to raise their draft stock and whose draft stock went down.
So there's a couple players. So like Cole Bishop is one, the safety out of Utah. I think he, helped his draft stock a little bit. Tyler Nubin performed very well. I don't think don't necessarily think he helped his draft stock, but I think I don't know. He might have helped it a little bit, but he performed really well at the combine. And I already had him as like my number one safety coming out. Who else? Quinion Mitchell. He helped his draft stock tremendously. I mean, he's been making himself a lot of money since the season was over.
Yeah.
Been making himself a lot of money. Who else? I think Lad McConkey might have helped his draft stock with the 40 that he ran. We already knew about his route running, but a lot of people questioned how fast he was. And running a 4.39 was crazy. So he might have helped his draft stock. Now the person that I think hurt their draft stock for me was Braylon Trice, the defensive end out of University of Washington. I think he hurt his draft stock just because he just didn't perform well.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think he had a little bit of a struggle, and he's one of the guys that was, I'm going to say, one of those fringe guys that we kind of were hearing about could go in that top half of the draft, and I think we haven't really been hearing a lot. I think now it's just like there's a lot of mocks that I've seen from numerous teams, not just from people mock drafting for the Colts, but also for like Texans, things like that, where they now have him going kind of like second round now. But then Josh, what about you?
I know, I know Harish been talking about it for a lot. The defensive tackle for Texas, he raised up a lot on the board. And the Mitchell, the receiver, he raises his stock up a lot. So I had him in the second round, but he could potentially go in the first round too.
Yeah. And then what about you, Austin? Who were some of the people that you had dry on, but then you were like, I don't know about that now?
Yeah. So he wasn't super high, but I think Kalen King, cornerback from Penn State.
Oh yeah.
He's kind of fell off big time.
Yeah.
And the combine didn't help at all. But then I think somebody that rose up and performed well was the DT from Florida State.
Braden Frisk. Yeah.
That guy.
Yeah, he was unreal.
Yeah.
My God.
Gotcha. Then what about you, Harish?
Yeah, Kalen King's the guy that really stuck out to me as far as guys that, probably dropped. I had no idea what he was doing, and it's almost like he was just there just because he was there. Cameron Kitchens, the safety from Miami, in a safety room in a safety class that looked really good. These guys just look. It felt like they were uninterested. I don't know what it was. They just didn't perform well. One guy I love that I think shot up a lot of draft boards was Theo Johnson, the tight end, out of Penn State. Oh my God! Again, just a guy that you talk about that could, obviously we know who our 1 and 2 is. It's going to be Brock Bowers and Jatavian Sanders, but Theo Johnson looked really good. I know I gave the running backs a tough time, but Isaac Rowendo and also the guy from Tennessee, your boy Jalen Wright. I think those two guys that probably shot up draft stocks. Again, in a running back class that really didn't look great. I think those two guys really helped their stock. But yeah, I think overall it was just a fun week. Again, obviously being a Texas fan, seeing 11 guys in the combine really helped, and 11 guys that performed very well outside of Jalen Ford, who got hurt, and Jordan Whittington, who I was upset with. That's another guy that I thought would do very well. Yeah, I just had a lot of fun this week, and it was fun watching this draft. I just really enjoyed myself. Lots of great talent in this class.
I think the running back class is actually decent. I think there's. I mean, Ray Davis, of course, old boy from Michigan, Blake Corum, Jalen Wright, Isaac from Louisville. There's another one.
Braylon Allen.
I think he might have hurt his stock a little bit. Yeah. I think him not running the 40 kind of hurt him.
If we look at them as a group, though, compared to the rest of the groups,
and then Marshawn Lloyd and Trey Benson. Trey Benson, I think, really helped his stock.
Trey Benson ran, just again, obviously we'll talk about the 40, but just I've found it very interesting Just catching ability out of the running back group was actually pretty good. Lots of really good pass catchers. And then the corners and the DBs running the gauntlet I thought was very cool. I know that's just something that started recently. It shows you a lot. You tell your ball hawks from your potential just really strong cover guys.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely. I don't know. It's just a really fun combine. I don't know what it was. Something about this combine. It was just fun to watch.
Yeah, it seemed like these were like what we saw in this combine was kind of like the results of like the COVID things happening. Like, because a lot of these guys, it's just like, they might have been like, some of those super seniors, or they might have been like those guys who were able to get that extra year eligibility. So these were guys that, really had time to kind of perfect it, as opposed to some of them where they might have just came out normally after just 3 years, might have been a little bit unpolished, had things that they needed to do. So I think we're probably seeing people who are maybe a little bit more seasoned in maybe like some of the fundamentals, having been able to go ahead and just kind of like sit a little bit longer, just kind of see where we are, because there was a few guys who possibly could have came out last year, but I think this year it's just like it almost seems like it's a competition for who's going to be drafted, because and I think kind of doubling down on who came up and who moved down, we see it with the cornerback room. I mean, outside of Terry and Arnold, I think Cam actually had a pretty good showing. I think a name that we've all just kind of been seeing a little bit is like TJ Tampa a little bit. And also wide receivers. Like we saw it a little bit. Some of the running backs maybe, but I mean, we saw it with the D ends, except for Braylon Trice, because Braylon Trice, I think he was the guy who people were just like, okay, the verdict is out. Let's see what's going on. Let's see what he can do. And he didn't help himself at all. But he might be a guy who actually can go into a system and really do something, because, every now and then it's just like there's guys who just really just look like absolute weirdos in the combine, and then they get into the league and have like great times. I think one guy I saw recently was Max Crosby. He probably had like the worst combine showing. I mean, he ran the 40 and looked like a duck out of water. And I mean, look at him now. It's just like he's somebody who's just like an absolute game wrecker. But
yeah, and those types of guys, you talk about a Max Crosby. They're not going to have high sack numbers, or maybe not even okay sack numbers. Mm-hmm. And you talk about what this team needs. Braylon Trice is a disruptor, and we need badly a disruptor on this defensive line. Again, we were like fifth in sacks last season. These are not our problem. But when it comes down to getting pressure on the quarterback in timely situations specifically, and just needing to have the D-line have a switch, we don't have a guy that can help us anchor that besides really DeForest Buckner and maybe Grove every now and then. And that's on the interior. You have to have edge guys that can create that pressure kind of out of nowhere, and we just don't have that right now. So a Braylon Trice might help with that.
So then let me ask this, right? Like, let's just say a guy like T'Vondre Sweat. Is that somebody that is possibly realistic in terms of this team, or in terms of this defensive line? Or, I mean, are we just strictly saying, hey, if we're going to go defense, we need to go cornerback, or we need to go edge rusher?
Yeah,
I'm going edge rusher.
Yeah, I'm going edge. T'Vondre Sweat is not a guy that's going to help you with pressure. He's a run stuffer. He's a guy that's going to clog the middle. He's a big body. Dude's 365. So he's going to up the middle.
That's why I wanted him to go behind Grove, because like
makes sense.
After when Grove went out for those 6 games, our run defense was terrible.
Yeah,
true.
So like for somebody to have like Sweat come in, and like let's say something happens with Grove where he gets hurt or something, but then you have Sweat on the back end that can come in and rotate in with Grove and everything like that, then it helps a little bit.
It does. Hey, don't get me wrong. I'd love to have Sweat. That'd be awesome. Make him sweat, baby. I'd love to have him down in Indy. But if we're talking about fit and what we're trying to accomplish with this team and where our gaps are as a team right now, I don't know if Sweat would take priority over like an edge rusher like a Jared Verse, or, if somebody drops. Because there's always going to be somebody that's like, man, that guy's really good, but he drops. Yeah. There's still a whole, 45 days until the draft. anything can happen in the next 45 days. Somebody smokes.
And then we also have pro days. So a lot of those guys who didn't necessarily have the best showing during the combine will have the chance between now and when their actual pro days are to really just go and make that good like second impression when they have them doing their individual workouts. But we're gonna go into some things, but really quickly, 2 players, let's just say first and second round. Who do we want? Who's the ideal after the combine? Of course, this is going to change over time because of pro days. Who are 2 players first and second round that we can see after those combine showings and knowing what we know right now that you can see being drafted 1 and 2? And we'll start with you, C.
You talking about as for the Colts, right?
Yep.
Shoot. First round, I want to go edge or receiver. So if Verse is there, we got to take Verse.
Mm-hmm.
If Verse isn't there, then I'm going like Brian Thomas Jr. or Adonai Mitchell. Okay. And vice versa. Like if we end up getting Verse in the first round, then give me a receiver in the second. Okay. And Xavier Worthy, Malachi Corley, Xavier Leggett, something like that in the second round.
Okay. All right. What about you, Austin?
Yeah, I really like Mitchell from Toledo at cornerback, or Brian Thomas Jr. from LSU for the first round, and then second round maybe like Darius Robinson from Missouri. If we go not wide receiver in the first, I like Corey at wide receiver, maybe in the second.
Okay, Josh.
I'm going to go with the Bama guys, either Dallas Turner or Terry Arnold with 15, and get Brian Thomas in the second.
Nice. Now, Harish, what about you?
This is insane. Oh my god. I love the DB out of Toledo. If he's there, to me, that has to be priority number 1. Or Jared Verse, like it has to be DB or corner. Those two, or sorry, DB or edge rush. Those 2 positions have been haunting this team for way too long. Haven't had a number 1 in the eye that's been consistent. Quinyon Mitchell, Jesus, man, I'd love to have a guy like Quinyon Mitchell. You bring him in, bring him along with Kenny Moore. I think that'd be fantastic. And then you have to go a wide receiver in the second round.
Yeah,
and say Worthy, if Brian Thomas drops that far, then you take him. I think that's what it is. But I think it's a mixture of DB, edge, and wide receiver in those first two picks. Definitely would love to have Quinyon Mitchell though. I agree with Austin there.
Okay.
My thing with corner is that we saw what the youth movement looked like last year.
Mm-hmm.
We need to get a vet in there to help our young guys grow. I'm not, and like my thing is, I think this cornerback class is pretty good. I'd rather go corner like third round. Give me a Cam Hart, Tyree Jackson or something like that. Just because, like I said, we went with the youth movement last year, and I love Juju. I think Jalen will come along, but we need somebody to play on the other side of Juju right now. And I need a vet. I need a vet in there because our biggest thing was miscommunication. It wasn't their coverage skills. It was they just weren't in the right places. And Juju is inexperience. Yeah. And Juju for me was because he missed all the camp. Like he got to stay healthy. Yeah. So I mean, I like Quinyon Mitchell. I like Terrion Arnold. I like those guys. Like the talent is crazy, but I think we fall into the same trap going with one of them in the first round as we did last year. Just the miscommunication, not the talent, but the miscommunication.
Yeah. I mean, I think miscommunication was how we lost to the Rams on the very last play when Kenny Moore and Juju literally nobody covered him, and then he ended up getting in for a touchdown, basically free. Like he could have probably done the Dougie into the end zone. Like that's
bring in Xavier Howard.
Actually, hey, Drake. So Drake Wallster. Hey, he actually went. He said, "You guys feeling Xavier and Howard, Shaq Griffin? Who do you want opposite Juju?"
Keep Shaq Griffin off this team.
Yes,
please. No more Shaqs on this team.
I'm cool with Howard, but I would like Kendall Fuller. Somebody like that.
I kind of like J.C. Jackson.
He's been passed around a little too much for me.
Again, I mean, he's a zone corner. He fits his own scheme. He's young. He's a lengthy guy. He's a guy that probably Gus would love. Yeah, Kendall Fuller would be great. Darius Williams, what do y'all think about him out of Jacksonville?
I think wasn't his issue like he couldn't stay healthy or something like that?
Oh yeah, we don't.
Yeah. But you know, I'm not. So I'd be good with like a Dante Jackson. However,
yes, I'd be good with that for sure.
However, I don't. J.C. Jackson, absolutely not. And the only reason why I say that is because people who come from the Patriots never do good. The thing is, like somebody like Stephon Gilmore, he had his best years with the Patriots, but he was drafted by Buffalo, and even then he was a little bit raw, but he was somebody who needed to kind of fine tune, and he was able to do that in New England. Outside of that, I don't trust anybody drafted by the Patriots who was on the Patriots and then went somewhere else. Because
I mean, we saw how he looked in it with the Chargers. He was terrible.
Yeah, and the thing is, he got that big deal because of what he did to the Patriots. The Patriots have the best defensive system for the Patriots because when they go elsewhere, they are certified 100% USDA approved bum. Like they are not good. And I'm like, I refuse to go and say, oh, maybe we should take a shot at JC Jackson. No, because they're going to be like, you know what we're going to do? You know, people who go into their film room when they go against our defense, if we get JC Jackson, you know what the first thing they're going to do is they're going to circle and they're going to say, you see him? That's the guy that we're going to be picking on the entire game.
What about a guy like Jeff Okudah or Chidobe Awuzie? Like any of those guys kind of stick out to you?
I'd rather Awuzie over Okudah.
Yeah,
and that's fair. Again, just kind of we if we're gonna bring in a veteran presence, you know, I'd like to bring in a guy that's been in the league for a while. Kendall Fuller kind of, you know, he definitely fits that build.
Yeah, I think Fuller's been very underrated for a long time.
Dante Jackson is a good one. Because I mean, both of them guys are like 30, around 30, 31.
Dante Jackson's like, Dante Jackson, I think he's like 28, 29.
He's like 29, right?
Yeah. What about Darrell Williams?
Darius Williams?
Yeah.
Darius Williams? Yeah.
No, health issues.
Yeah. No more health issues on this team, man. I don't think I can do it anymore.
I mean, we got to stay healthy.
Yeah. I mean, on top of that, I think that the team doctor might be Doc McStuffins because, I mean, it's just like we can't keep anybody healthy to save our lives.
He retired him. He gone. He left.
This medical staff can't even diagnose anybody correctly, yet alone keep them healthy.
Listen, let's just we're not going to do that. We're not going to do that. No.
Is it not?
No. I said we're not going to do that because the thing is we don't need to keep giving ourselves PTSD when we know that anytime one of our guys gets hurt, they're going to get a SpongeBob Band-Aid and a lollipop, and then they're going to say, oh, yeah, he's only going to be out for 4 weeks. What do you mean?
You actually broke that bone. My bad.
Yeah, no, damn. It's just like, It's just like, oh, it's a bone issue. Here's some milk. Like, we're not giving people milk for healing bone issues.
Here's some calcium.
Yeah, it's just like, here's some calcium for you. Here, have an orange. Like, sir, it's an ACL tear. Okay, well then here's an orange for you, and here's an orange to rub on the ACL. Like, what are we doing here? Like, what?
Another one that I would like is Ronald Darby. I wanted him last year.
Darby
going into the season after Isaiah Rodgers got cut. I wanted us to go get Ronald Darby, and he went to Baltimore, and he played well in Baltimore. So,
that's
another one I want.
Darryl Baker.
Huh?
You didn't want Darryl Baker.
Hell no. Absolutely not.
At least you're honest.
Ballard did.
What about Tony Brown?
All right, moving on.
Well, he got cut, so here we are.
Yeah. So yeah, moving on. We're not going to do that. You're trolling now, Josh. We're not going to do that. You're about to be on. You're about to be on Harish time because I'll listen. All right. So then here, let's do this because this is going to lead to some discourse. So if Ballard moved down in this draft, knowing that we do have depth in certain spots, because like I said, cornerback, I think we can all agree, cornerback, edge rusher, wide receiver, maybe like cornerback and edge rusher, depending on how you see it, can be switched 1 and 2. So if Ballard was to move down in typical Ballard fashion in this draft specifically, would you be okay with it after seeing what you saw when it came to the combine?
No.
Mm.
Send his ass where John Robinson at.
Get the pick at 15. There's no need. I mean, there's no need to trade back. If anything, trade up. Like,
yeah,
if you can go get Rome, go get Rome. If Rome falls to 9, go get Rome. There's no reason. It's no reason to trade back.
I knew there was a reason why I liked you, CLew.
And if we're taking Cooper DeJean, he better be playing safety.
That's what I've been saying all along because I don't see the corner thing. I don't see that. No.
Nah, he can be a big slot guy or a big nickel, or he can go play safety. That's the only two places I want to see Cooper, and I don't want to trade back to get him. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
No. I don't see. It's I've had that discussion. People are saying, "Oh yeah, get him to play cornerback." No, absolutely not. Because the thing is, if you look at his tape, you look at the way that he plays a lot more physical. He is a guy that has some speed. Like, to me personally, I think he's probably a little bit closer to somebody like a Harrison Smith, just maybe a little bit faster in terms of like where we're talking about, like where he could possibly be. But I don't see him being a full-time cornerback unless, like you said, he's playing a nickel or he's playing like an inside, maybe like a slot cornerback into maybe like possibly maybe a box safety at times. I do feel like he has the versatility to be able to do both, but I don't see him just playing full-time corner.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't think he's bad. Like, I don't think he's bad, but I think you unlock him if you put him at safety. Like, you unlock his abilities if you put him at safety.
Yeah. How is he a good tackler?
Yes.
That's my other thing. We have to, if you go get a corner, you have to get a solid tackler. That killed us this year too. The tackling by this secondary was atrocious.
No, Coop is a good tackler. Like, he'll come down and he'll hit you.
Yeah.
He likes to stick his nose in the run game. Like, I love that type of physicality.
Yeah.
And he can tackle. Like, he's a sure tackler.
Yeah. Yeah. I watch his tape to see how strong he can play. Like,
Yeah.
I tried to watch Big Ten football, and I think I fell asleep every time.
Oh my god. Oh my god. So then with that being the case, so then and I'm kind of freestyling because I know we didn't go over this, but I just want to ask, if everything that we've talked about over the last hour or so, let's just say if we don't end up doing this, let's just say free agency is possibly a skip, even when it comes to like a veteran corner, getting somebody that possibly can just fill a hole that, you know, we wouldn't have to necessarily fill in free agency, but, you know, it's like I said, or in the draft. If we know this, we see a trade back, how much of this, or how much of, I'm not going to say blame, but how pissed are we going to be if we see Ballard kind of doing the things that he's done, knowing exactly what's out there and what he's been able to do?
You mean like free agency?
Yeah, like free agency, the draft, like knowing that cornerback, edge rush, wide receiver are spots that you know that you need to possibly fill. And let's just say we end up just kind of like crapping the bed on all of it. And then we see a trade back, you know, into the late 20s in the draft, only to go ahead and possibly draft positions of need like edge rush in the 4th or 5th round or something along those lines.
Oh, I'll be hot.
I'll
be pissed.
Literally, fire him on the spot. I've got no patience for this guy, man. I can't do this anymore. We can't continue to go down the same rabbit hole of, you know, bargain billing free agency, waiting to week 18 of free agency, and then signing, you know, Darryl Baker, trading back for like 18 more picks for the next 6 years. We just don't have time for this anymore. I would be pissed. I would be on the, and then if he does that and goes 9-8 again next year, you got to fire him. He's got to be gone. Like, you just can't build it. You can't. I feel like we start over every single season, and it starts with the off-season. It started with the off-season press conference. Guys, we really like what we have here. listen, we're going to do what we're going to do, and this is just how it's going to go. If Ballard keeps telling us what he's going to do, and we try to like brainwash ourselves into thinking it's something completely different, there's nothing he told me this offseason that was like, man, he's going to do something different. I'm not convinced that it's going to be the same thing over and over and over. He just won't change. He's too arrogant to change his ways. He's a glorified scout being a GM. That's just how I see it. But y'all continue. I'll go on mute.
No. Keep it on.
But if he trades back into the the 20s, and to me, like I would be upset, but it also depends on who you take. Like if he takes somebody that is like, nah, like come on, dog, why you did this, and you address something later in the draft as far as what should have been a need at 15, or maybe not even a need, but maybe just BPA at 15 or whatever, then yeah, I'm gonna be upset. But like if he drops back to 22 and you get somebody that I actually thought would have went earlier, then that's a different story. But if he does some bull, like I'm livid.
I'm still mad when he traded back to get Rocky Sin. We could have Montez Sweat. So no, I'd be pissed off.
How many wide receivers you passed up on that year? Like 4?
Yeah.
5?
Well, no, because I think that was the year that they did that. But the thing is, Montez, and if we're being honest, it kind of goes against his mantra because he says it starts in the trenches, and he traded out of the pick and missed on getting somebody who was in the trenches. Like it was one of those things where it was just kind of like, we understand you say it starts there, but what you're doing right now says it doesn't really. Like it just wasn't something that was, I'm gonna say, conducive. And I mean, and honestly, we can say what we want about those wide receivers. Honestly, there was no telling that Paris Campbell was going to be as injured as he was. But even looking back on that wide receiver class, I mean, I think we kind of saved ourselves because as talented as they were, I think Hollywood ended up being a bust to me personally. Debo is more of an all-around weapon instead of just being a wide receiver, because let's be honest, Brandon Ayuk might be the best wide receiver on the 49ers right now. And there's no telling exactly where he's going to go.
Yeah, he grew into that role too. Yeah,
A.J. Brown is a head case. DK Metcalf is a certified maniac. So, I mean, if we're being honest, it's like, like I said, Paris Campbell's production in college was right where he needed to be. But the problem is that he just was never able to stay healthy. So, I mean, it was only really a miss because of the fact that he just was never on the field. Well, that and the fact that he also had to play with like 4 different quarterbacks over his tenure. So, Well, I think Drake asked really quickly. He said, "Who do you dudes want at 15?" I think we're pretty much all generally on the same page. I think we said Terrion Arnold, Jared Verse, Brian Thomas potentially, depending on who's there. Surprisingly enough, nobody said Brock Bowers.
Because I don't want Brock Bowers. It doesn't make sense with all the gaps this team has. It just doesn't make, to me, Brock Bowers at a 15 is like a luxury pick. Oh man, I just need one piece and we're set. I don't think we're there yet. There's just too many gaps on too many important pieces of this team to just go after Brock Bowers. That's just how I.
Yeah. What about you, C? Because like I know that you've seen the talk. Like you've seen the talk of like, because Brock Bowers was very early on the one name that kind of stuck out all the way up until the combine now. Like I think we saw some names here and there. Of course, you have those very unrealistic fans that say, "Oh yeah, Marvin Harrison Jr." Like, no, absolutely not. Yeah. But like, what's the obsession with Brock Bowers?
I mean, everybody knows we need some, an explosive piece to this offense. And that's what they believe Brock Bowers can provide. He's a receiving tight end. Like you can move him outside, inside, line him at fullback or whatever. So, I mean, the way they say is that if we go on receiver, you might as well go Brock Bowers because he's one of those. He's supposed to be the generational tight end. Me personally, I'm not as high on Brock Bowers as everybody else is. I mean, I do think he's good. Like, but my thing is, I think we have other needs. And I mean, I understand like BPA and all that other stuff.
Yeah.
And at 15, if he drops, then you go BPA, whatever. But like, I think for me, if Verse is there, I'm taking Verse over Brock Bowers.
Absolutely. 100%.
Like, if Latu is there, I'm taking Latu over Brock Bowers.
Oh yeah, Latu. That's a guy we didn't talk about.
Like it's just one of those things where, I mean, because you can get that explosiveness in your offense later on. In a later round. And for me, we have a tight end room that is stacked, like full. I mean, unless they move on for Mo, which I think they should, but like you have a Will Mallory who I've been high on since we drafted him. I mean, I'm a Miami guy, so like I've seen what Will Mallory can do. Who else? Jelani Woods. I know he was hurt all last season, but I'm still high on Jelani. I still think he can be that stud that we need at tight end. And then you got Kylan, and then whatever happens with Drew, this whole thing with Drew. Yeah. I mean, we have a full tight end room though. Like, I don't think we need to continue to add to that. And I understand he's not just a tight end, but he's a tight end by position, like by label.
Yeah.
I don't think Kylan gets the respect that he deserves. I think Kylan's very good. He's a guy that can get you those extra yards. He can run a lot of different routes on the route tree. Kylan is very underutilized. He was underutilized for the entire time Potato Head was our head coach. So Kylan, we rarely got to see what Kylan could do. Always like, yeah, man, Kylan's really awesome, but he uses him like once a game. I think Kylan Granson is a guy that I really love.
Yeah, and the thing that kind of irritates me in regards to tight end is if you spend that type of pick on a tight end and we end up not getting a pass rusher in free agency and then getting a pass rusher later, I think that will be a much bigger indictment on Chris Ballard and this team, knowing that even with us getting 5 sacks, this past year, they weren't pressuring enough. And I mean, if you think about the fact that Gus Bradley wasn't really blitzing that much, he wasn't really sending anybody after them, but we had games where the pass rush was non-existent. I mean, if you look at the game with Atlanta, you look at the game with Cincinnati, they were throwing short screens. They were throwing screens to people where if you have somebody who's a certified edge rusher off the end, that means that they have to game plan for that. And they're not able to really just go ahead and be that dink and dunk offense because those two games were damn near identical. And then we're getting beat by these running backs who are literally weaving in and out of our offenses that could have been stopped if for some reason you have somebody significant. And Brock Bowers, as talented as he is, he ain't about to rush no edge. So there's no need for me personally. Brock Bowers, great talent. Fantastic. But as you said, that's if for some reason Jared Verse is there and you pass him up for somebody like Brock Bowers, if Brock Bowers is also there,
livid, fired on the spot.
To me personally, it's just like that's going to be the biggest indictment. And I mean, that's if I like me personally, I'm not the biggest Gus Bradley fan, but also at the same time, it's just like you let a talent like Jared Verse or Latu go, or even a Dallas Turner, you're basically setting yourself up for failure.
Yeah, and see, that's the thing. We don't even have to have crazy sack numbers. We got to get pressure, no. Like, I mean, I understand secondary was our worst thing, but like I said before, it is due to a lot of youth, a lot of miscommunication on the back end. And defense is our worst. Like, it was our worst thing last year. Our offense had no issues. We literally lost the Browns game. I mean, they had issues, but Gardner Minshew, of course. But we lost the Browns game because of defense. Like, we took the lead. Michael Pittman Jr. took a 70 yards slant to the house.
Yep.
And we took the lead, and then our defense lost us the game. Daryl Baker lost us the game, but yeah.
That's a discussion for a whole nother time because there's a lot of people. Well, not a lot. There's a few people. All right, even that's a lie. There's a couple people who will sit here and just try to continue the whole Daryl Baker thing. And to me, I'm just not with it. I don't get it. I don't understand it. It's not something that I understand because we saw what it was. Like I
don't hate Daryl Baker. I don't think he is like the worst corner that ever played football either. But the thing is that he sucks at the. But I'm not gonna say he sucks. He's not good at dislodging the ball at the catch point, and he's not a good tackler.
Yeah.
And those two things for me are a no-go. He has sticky coverage. Like, he's good in coverage. He just can't dislodge the ball. Like, for whatever reason, he's just late with getting his hand in there to push the ball out.
Yeah,
right. And sometimes he's right there, and it's just like he's just not that 1 millisecond or second that you need.
Yeah.
And a lot of those things matter in this Gus Bradley defense. Exactly. So, yeah, we talked about scheme, but there's little, again, fundamental things that matter to help the scheme work, and then the right players with the right timing to be able to do those little things changes everything. In any scheme, in any zone-based scheme, if you can't tackle, you're screwed because you're already playing yourself on an island anyway.
And if you watch any of Gus Bradley's defenses, he's always had that one defensive end that can make some noise, but he's also always had a rotation of guys that could really get back there and get to the quarterback.
Yeah. I mean, it's to me personally, and I mean, this is going to be harsh. He's like the Julian Davenport of cornerbacks. Like, that's just where I am with that. Like, it just bothered me because the thing is, it's just like you can leave him out there on something simple, maybe like a go route. You can keep him on there, maybe on like a post, possibly. But the thing is a lot of what they did. Like, I think the Browns game is a perfect example. I mean, Amari Cooper, for the most part, was shut down, and then Juju Brents got hurt because Juju was able to kind of stay with them, just play a little bit more of that coverage, use some of that range. Darrell Baker comes in, and Amari Cooper basically gets all his stats, I think, in the second half. Like, he looked like he just emerged from God knows where. Like, he was Rita Repulsa in Power Rangers. Like, after 10,000 years, I'm free. But it's just like it was those types of games that just kind of let me know it's just not it.
And I think Drake says something about Tyquan Lewis, and he's actually somebody I do think is good. He just had bad luck with those knee injuries.
Yeah. Harish has been a Tyquan Lewis truther for years.
Love Tyquan Lewis. He just can't. But again, he can't stay healthy. So, like,
he stayed healthy last year, so that was good. Hopefully, he's past that. So, like, I wouldn't mind bringing him back on like a 1 or 2 year,
Okay, he's a free agent, isn't he?
Yeah, he's a free agent. So I wouldn't mind bringing him back like 1 or 2, year contract, just to be part of that rotation.
He'll be super cheap. He's a guy you can put on the back end, and you need depth. He's a guy that can definitely fill like that third DN type guy. Oh man, he'd be awesome. I love Tyquan Lewis.
Yeah. So, and with that being said, because we're kind of at the end of it all, I think we've had very fruitful discussions regarding these things. But there's one thing that we still have to get to, because so Harish, as you know, Chris Ballard is not one of his favorite people in the world. Matter of fact, he probably likes Nick Saban more than he likes Chris Ballard, and that's saying something.
Nick Saban, though, I definitely like Nick Saban more than I like Chris Ballard. That's
okay. So the statement was true then. Well, okay. Any Texas A&M coach?
Oof, that's tough.
Yes,
you're welcome.
But so see, I'm gonna ask you in terms, because like I said, I know that you are kind of on both sides of the criticism of Chris Ballard. Now, what do you think he would have to do for you to just be like, you know what, I'm all in. I'm good. This is like he's good in my book. This is what he needed to do all along. We're good.
So my biggest complaint for Ballard has been you draft well, but can you really put together a full team?
Yeah.
And I'm not saying go out there and spend crazy in free agency. I don't think that method really works. But when you have holes on your team and you don't supplement those with the draft, you need to supplement those in free agency. And not with, low bargain players. And I understand top tier players don't really come available. We just saw that today. The top tier players that came available, they got franchise tag immediately. So what I need him to do is, we have holes on our team that I know we're not going to fill in the draft. Supplement those in free agency. with some talent, like not like Samson Ebukam, I think was a great addition last year.
Yeah.
But now we have our quarterback. At least that's what all of us hope, that we got our guy. He's on a rookie deal. We got at least 4 more years of him on a rookie deal.
Yeah.
Make sure to get some talent in there in free agency. Like I said, go get a corner, a vet corner that can help our young guys grow, help them develop. Go get a vet safety, Quandre Diggs. He's out there. Go get him.
Yeah.
And granted, the same thing too. Like, we can offer somebody and they can just say no. Like, they can, like, nah, I'm gonna go over here. Because also when you look at vet guys, those guys are trying to win. They want rings, so they're most likely you're gonna go to somebody that's gonna help you get a ring.
Yeah.
So that's the
everybody except DeAndre Hopkins.
Yeah, except DeAndre Hopkins for sure.
Funny.
And Indy isn't like the best destination to go. Like, some people love Indy, but as a free agent, you're not really looking at Indy as the destination.
Yeah.
Especially because we ain't been winning nothing lately. But yeah, if you go out there and you can supplement our roster with some guys that's really gonna help us win, I'll be like, all right, cool, Ballard, I'm with you. But if you ain't doing that, then we still got some problems because you ain't showing us nothing different.
Yeah.
We still got some issues. And I think he's a great evaluator of talent, but it's up to the coaches to make sure to get that talent out of the players. But bro, you got to do something else.
Yeah.
He can't draft the edge to save his life. So hopefully he can get that right.
Yeah.
So hopefully he can get that right.
We've been drafting edge rushers since Luck was
9 years.
It hasn't been 9 years, Harish.
7 years. Shit, it feels like 9 years.
Like I said, I like Tyquan Lewis, but some of the other guys he went and drafted at edge, and I like Quiddy. I just don't think he's an edge rusher. I think he's a run stopper.
He's a run stopper that I believe that they probably tried to. And I was on a different podcast. It's just like a couple weeks ago, or last week, as a matter of fact, and the resounding theme, because the league guy was a Michigan fan, and he goes, "No, Quiddy pay is good. You just got to give him some time because of the fact that it's just like he's a run stopper, but he's a run stopper that they are kind of trying to transition into being able to do both." And I mean, that sounds good, but at the same time, it's just like, we're going into year 4, and
time to pay him.
Yeah, and I mean, the thing is, now you coming up on next year, you have to determine whether or not you're going to pay him or give him the option. Because
that's this year. That's in May. I think they have to.
They have to decision on his option.
Yeah. So I mean, it's a do or die year. But the thing is, once again, you go edge rusher this year, that's competition, and I think that's what this team is lacking, is big competition, because of the fact that when Ballard said that Matt Pryor earned the right to start, I knew that he was lying. I knew that he sat there. I was just like, I just knew, because the thing is, there was nothing about Matt Pryor that said he's earned the right to start, other than the fact that he didn't address the position. I mean, he did because he got Ryman, but at the same time, I think even Ryman, who had transitioned from being a tight end, had to go ahead and get those lumps in at left tackle, where now it's just like, yes, that actually worked out, but we still had to deal with the year of Matt Pryor basically letting people through like a 90-year-old security guard. Like, it's just like there was nothing. Like, there was nothing that was going to be anywhere near what we needed. And I think that's what, like, that comfortability. And I think we've talked about it here. I think other people have talked about it. It's just like Ballard carries a certain amount of cockiness to him, where he just like, he's the big brain in the room, and we don't need to do anything else because we got this guy off whatever. I think we franchise tag Michael Pittman Jr. and then afterwards they put out a notification that we signed Jack Anderson, the guy that we got from the Bills, who were a 7th round pick, who honestly, if you look at the Bills O-line, their O-line really isn't that good either. So if they're letting people go, that means that clearly this guy might be a
bum.
So I think with that, they believe in the offensive line coach. It's the same thing. Like, I mean, and I hate to say this, right? But as much as I want an edge rusher in the first round, I'm not too sure that the Colts go edge rusher in the first round. For the simple fact, that's why they went and got that defensive line coach from Pitt, who is amazing. Like, he's a dog. But I think that's why they went and got him and let go of the one that we had, because it's one of those things where our defensive line wasn't. Yeah, we got all the sacks, but they weren't doing what they weren't producing the way that the Colts want them to produce, and that's why they got I forget his name now, but the guy from Pittsburgh or from Pitt,
Charlie Partridge.
Partridge, and I mean he's well renowned, and like he's supposed to be like that. He's coached a lot of good ass defensive linemen, like Aaron Donald and some of them guys. So like he's supposed to be like that. So we'll see what happens. But that's one of my fears, is that we probably don't go edge in the first round, but we probably get something like I said, a receiver or something like that. Or I mean, maybe they do go corner in the first. Who knows? And I do agree with what Drake said, like about Xavier Howard, because it to me it reminds me of when we took Xavier Rhodes from Minnesota.
Yeah.
And he was, the injuries, he was towards the back end of his career, but then he revived his career in Indy for the 2 years that he was there. And then, eventually rode off into the sunset. But that's kind of what that Xavier Howard reminds me of. Like, if we went and got him. Well, yeah, Vontae Davis too.
Vontae Davis, that was awesome.
Yeah, so I mean, that's kind of what Xavier Howard reminds me of. If we went and got him, like, I think he could revitalize his career in Indy, but he just gotta stay away from women. But I mean, Indy isn't Houston, Indy isn't Miami, so he should be good up there.
Yeah, he can focus on work, because clearly in Miami he was focused on everything else. Like, that man's couldn't pull out of a driveway. He was just up there just messing everything up. Like, he was just bugging. I refuse. That is, he can go to Indy, get his mind right, because
what's that one cornerback that got a bunch of kids?
Oh, Cromartie?
Cromartie. Yeah.
Did you? Hey, by the way, completely random fact. Did you know Isaiah Rodgers is related to them?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, because I was like, I'd heard it the other day. It's just like, he's related to that. And now it's just like the whole Rodgers Cromartie line makes sense, which is the reason why. It's just like, he's as fast as he is, he just doesn't reproduce the way they do. So like I said, it's
a good thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Because he was. Yeah. I mean, but then again, listen, at the end of the day, I'm completely okay with whatever anybody chooses to do. I mean, honestly, between Rodgers Cromartie and Phillip Rivers, they could probably rent out a Sky Zone for a day and they'd be at like maximum occupancy. Because I mean, they're reproducing faster than Gizmo on Gremlins at this point. It's just Philip. I'm telling you, it's just like Phillip Rivers' wife. She just probably just be like, "Bruh, leave me alone. Like,
stop touching me.
But you know what? Like I said, that was, listen, we're not gonna go ahead and get into that. Like I said, but big shout out to Phillip Rivers, big shout out to Antonio Cromartie, was on the Colts for a little while as well. Like I said, we appreciate y'all. But I mean, hey, listen, that's it for us for tonight. Tell the people where to find you, what you got coming up. Let them know.
Yeah, so I mean, you can find me on Twitter at DropBallsPod. I'm so I spend most of my days, no Fresh Prince. I
just say why does that sound so familiar? Like, what's going on right now?
But yeah, I'm on Twitter all the time, talking Colts, talking, a lot of trash to every team, just about everybody. Different team, Titans, Jaguars, them beating us was their Super Bowl. As you saw, after they beat us, they couldn't win any more games. But yeah, man, that's where you can find me. As far as what I have coming up, like I said, I think Horseshoe Pride, I think we're doing an episode this Friday. Make sure to tap into that on YouTube. We might go live on Twitter as well. You can find it on my Twitter. It'll be up there. And then Sports After Dark, I think we're running a show tomorrow on YouTube. I believe I got to get with Ash and Heavy to see what we got going on with that. Was gonna try to make it to the draft this year, but that probably won't happen. But I'll definitely be out there next year, be at the combine next year. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much all for me. I just be low key, be chilling, and like I said, talking my shit on Twitter.
Nice.
That's awesome.
So with that being said, guys, tell the people where to find you.
You can find me on Twitter at CookieAustin2.
All right, Josh.
Well, you can find me watching CLew respond to Undisputed.
Why are you the way that you are?
Because I'll be entertained, man. I like, look, I ain't got to tweet no more. I can just watch this whole thread.
What about you, Harish?
Hey, you can find me on Twitter at the Uncle Gandhi. And then, of course, you can find me talking about my other depressive school, college that we depress ourselves and everything at right now. As we currently speak, the Longhorns are losing 9-2 to A&M Aggies, which is awesome. It's not really awesome.
Yes.
But yeah, you can find me Thursday nights, Texas Longhorn Fan Battle Podcast with my boy, the Tim Wayne. This week, no guests this week, but we are working on Matt Brown to come back to the show. So those guys interested in college football 25, he's the guy that's been breaking all the news there. So we'll have him back on the show soon. But yeah, catch me there, catch me on Twitter, and good times.
Yes.
Also, y'all made it seem like CLew and I didn't agree a lot on Ballard. We basically have the same stance.
Well, he said go either way. He said go either way. You go one way.
Yeah, you go one. Yeah, he's objective. You, however, are just completely no. You can say one good thing about Ballard.
He drafts very well.
He Tad Pittman.
He made sure our best wide receiver didn't leave today.
Hey, appreciate that, Drake, too. Yeah, I was happy to be able to take him down there, man, or up over there. Yeah, whatever.
And by the way, a big shout out. He was able to change his 40 time in less than 24 hours.
Damn.
Young man's is going places. 4.1 incoming. He's just like he's a dog. Okay.
I've been working 24 years and I still can't change my 40 times.
That's why.
Hey, listen, he tried to get me to run it. I was like, bro, if I run it, we're not making it back home. You know, I'm in the hospital somewhere. I'd have torn my ACL, I'd have torn my Achilles. I'm not in a good spot with my legs. So
listen, they will test you because my 9-year-old he challenges me to a one-on-one before practice every single day, and every now and then I find myself trying to do certain and one moves that I used to be able to do that I can't anymore. And the other day, it's just like I almost ate it completely. And then I was just like, let me calm down. Because even though I have health insurance, I don't want to use it. So let's just go ahead and just do that because I don't want to be on pain medication.
If y'all want to jump on the sticks and create a player in Madden, I can probably get you a good 40.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Listen, yeah, my player on Madden, he's a 4.22. I have no problem with that. However, me right now, I am not anywhere near a 4.22. I'm closer to a 4.2 in age, and I'm in a 4.2 and a 40. So, absolutely not. I'm probably a 5.5 right now. I'll give you that much. And honestly, I'll need the next day and a half to myself. Like that's exactly what that'll be. But hey, big shout out to CLew Jr. for being out there, just putting on for us. You know, hopefully it's just like we'll be able to get him on here one day and he'll tell us about his 3.940 or whatever it is, because then we'll know that he probably just needs to run track and it'll be much safer on that side. So yeah. But yeah, man. Hey, listen, thank you, CLew, for coming through. We appreciate you
having me, man.
Appreciate you for coming on. And yes, so thank you for that. And then also make sure that we tune in. We actually have we'll be doing a special episode next week on the 15th. We're actually going to be having none other than the man, the myth, Drake Wally himself, who will actually be on here with us. It'll be a special Friday. So like I said, make sure that you tune in. But other than that, guys, thank you for supporting. We will see you next week. And as always, please remember that Sam loves Jalen Ramsey. Okay, listen, we love you guys. Make sure we stay tuned, and we will see you next week.